Welcome back to Grit Gym. Welcome back to Grit Gym Live. Today we're coming to you a little late today, but usually we come at you at 12:30 every day, every weekday. Talk about your health, your exercise, your nutrition, mindset, recovery. Okay, those are the exercise, mindset, nutrition, recovery are your pillars of health. If you don't have one of those things, it's like a tire falling off of your car. You have to have all four. And we like to think that mindset is the easiest one to get rid of, or the easiest one that you already think that you know. Mindset is the most difficult one. It's the hardest to nail down. It's the hardest to get through to you. Sorry that we're coming to you a little bit late today. We had some technical difficulties. We were trying to do an interview. The technology was not working out in Mike or I's favor. So we pulled up, we exhausted all the stops, and finally we were just like, you know what, Apple, we don't know what to do. So we're going to reschedule here in a little bit after we're done with the call. But anyway, if you guys have any questions, you have any comments, you have anything, put them down in the comment section below. They'll pop up on here. I'll answer them as we go. And please take the time to share this out. And if you like it, I get to see your face go all the way across the screen as I'm talking, and it's pretty cool. But one of the things that Mike and I were going to talk about, we're going to get more into this, but we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we see in the fitness industry that is just a blatant lie. It's just a blatant lie, and it's really interesting, and it's kind of understandable where these come from. But at the same time, they're not doing people very many favors. Okay, they're not doing people very many favors. And my favorite one that I talk about a lot on here is pain is weakness leaving the body, right? Pain is weakness leaving the body is total bogus. No, it is not. There is nothing leaving the body that has anything to do with pain when you're going through pain. Pain is a signal that you better listen to. Pain is something very important. Pain is something that you really want to dial into. If you're feeling pain, that's a signal for you to stop. Your body is literally saying, hey, knock that off. My elbow hurts. Knock it off. But we don't do that, right? Because we're too tough, right? So we keep on doing it, and then 20 years down the road, we're still doing it, and we're like, man, my elbow still, it really hurts. Like, oh man, I must just be getting older. No, you're not. You're treating your elbow like crap. There's something going on there, and you have to get it looked at. You gotta get it figured out. Not always by a doctor, maybe by a physical therapist, maybe by someone like me. It's amazing how often it has nothing to do. I can't diagnose anything, so I'm not saying that I'm diagnosing anything, but it's amazing how often I look like a genius just because we stretched out your upper back, and we didn't really even do any fancy stretching. We just kind of pushed and pulled around in a little bit, and we added some stability to the joint, let's say it's your shoulder, and all of a sudden everything got better. Okay? You weren't in so much pain that you qualified for, you weren't in pain, like you just had an aggravated shoulder, so you didn't qualify for physical therapy. You needed to back off. You needed to stop doing bench press every day, so we stopped doing bench press every day. But what are we going to put in place of that? Because you can't do nothing. We got to get other stuff in there. We got to learn. We got to teach that. You got to think of I like to talk about the symbiotic relationship between you and your body, okay? But I also want you to think about them as being two separate entities that has to build a relationship between the two. You are one, but you are separate. Okay? You can override certain things in your body. You can say, no, I'm going to push through, I'm going to push through, I'm going to push through, even when you know that your body isn't going to be able to accept what you're giving it. When you're giving it that stimulus, it's going to break down that tissue eventually, because you can kind of override that with your mind, which is great. It makes us able to do some pretty cool things, but there's a big difference between the grind of pushing through and driving through and making sure that you get that workout done and you get the most out of it, and you create a stimulus that is going to do something for your body, like being able to race your kid to the car, or lose a bunch of fat, or be able to throw your grandkids up above your head, whatever that thing is. That's fantastic. But there does come a point where pain is no longer a thing that you want to have out there. There is a separation between your body and your mind. Okay? You want to build the relationship between the two so that they can communicate, so that you can listen to your body, and so that your body can listen to you, so that it can be a cooperative relationship. Because you try to make that thing go against itself, it's going to go real bad. You're going to end up like me. You're going to have an injured shoulder. I've had 2 third-degree shoulder separations and 1 very bad dislocation. Dislocated my elbow, broke my wrist, busted up my hip, busted up my knee, broke my foot. When I did my foot, it was so bad that they told me I might not walk again. Okay, you don't want to end up like that. All of these injuries came by way of not stopping because I thought the pain was weakness leaving the body. Okay, you say that to 17-year-old Adam, you say that saying to a 15-year-old Adam, and you get a freak that turns into an absolute psycho. It's no good, okay? What about more sweat? What's another exercise lie? What's some of the lies that you guys have heard? What's some of the stuff that you've heard out there that is just absolutely ridiculous? You know, one of them that Aaron said on here the other day was that exercise should always be enjoyable. She said that she read this somewhere else, was that an expert said exercise should always be enjoyable because then you're more likely to do it more often. That's bogus. That's such a ridiculous mindset. Okay, so think about that. No exercise is ever enjoyable. There's no exercise that's ever enjoyable unless it's not exercise, unless it's just you're riding your bike for fun, or you're dancing for fun, or you're rock climbing for fun. That's not really exercise, that's recreation. Okay? So exercise is not recreation. We're trying to make it into that with things like CrossFit and stuff like that, but it's not recreation, and it shouldn't be. Exercise doesn't need to be a sport. Exercise needs to be something that you do for you so that you can do all the other things that you want to be able to do. If you want to go rock climbing, you should exercise in order to be a better rock climber, but they're not the same thing. Okay? If you want to be a better bike rider, well, go exercise. You want to be a better runner, better exercise. There's a coworker that said it? Okay. But yeah, it's just one of those bogus statements. It's just like, no, exercise isn't always fun. The idea that, thanks. Aaron says, it was actually a coworker that said it, but close enough, and then give me a thumbs up. So thank you, Aaron. But this idea that exercise should always be fun almost gets in the way of it actually being what it needs to be for the people that are involved. Exercise isn't always fun. What do you got to do? You just got to do it anyway. This idea that exercise always has to be fun is total bogus. What about more sweat equals a better workout? No, it doesn't. More sweat doesn't necessarily equal a good workout or a bad workout. You can be really sweaty and have a terrible workout. You can be really sweaty and have a good workout. It completely depends on the person, the temperature, hydration, humidity in the air, the environment that you're in, the exercises that you were doing. If you're training for strength and you are a person that doesn't sweat very much, you're probably not going to sweat a whole ton. If you're not a person who sweats very much and it's 100% humidity and it's 95 degrees outside and you're doing like some alactic glycolytic work, like in the metabolic workouts at Grit Gym, you're probably going to sweat a lot. Even if you are not a sweater, you're probably still going to sweat a lot. Was one of those a good workout? One of those a bad workout? No, both of those were probably very good workouts. Soreness must be a good thing, right? Like if you're really sore, you must have worked out. You must have had a great workout. Not necessarily. Just because you're sore doesn't mean that you're that you got a really good workout. For instance, we can do all the exercises that get people sore and just do those over and over again and try to convince people that, hey, it must be good for you because you're sore. You don't actually, at some point you want to stop getting... I'm not going to say that you should never feel sore, because you should. There are times when you want to push your body a little bit more and you end up getting sore, and that's just what happens. There's times when recovery didn't happen the way that it should have happened, and you don't recover as well, so you feel sore. There's times when you're fighting off a sickness in your body, so your body's trying to go to that instead of trying to recover from your workout. You feel sore. There's all kinds of different things that are going to go on. You didn't sleep well enough. You went out and drank with your friends. You didn't eat very well. You didn't... Whatever it is. You did exercises that got you sore in the first place, right? Soreness doesn't necessarily mean great workout, but sometimes we do want a little bit of soreness. And sometimes soreness is just, it kind of goes along with the game, but also there's certain exercises that we would just expect that it would kind of make you a little sore, like single leg RDLs. I'd expect that to put a stretch on that hamstring, and and you're lowering very slowly, so you're probably going to be a little sore. I'm a little sore today because I did RDLs yesterday. RDLs are going to get you a little sore because you're putting that hamstring on stretch, you're putting that hip on stretch, and you're really sinking into it, and you're loading that in an eccentric fashion, so it's going to make you a little bit more sore. Aaron says, one I heard a long time ago, and you don't need to stretch or cool down. You don't need to stretch or cool down. Doesn't help you. I don't go back and forth on this one as much as I probably think that I do. Stretching at the end of the workout and foam rolling at the end of the workout, I kind of put them in a little bit of the same category. Like, we know that static stretching doesn't really do much except for increase the tolerance of the stretch. However, it does make your muscle relax. So it just kind of relaxes. So I think it's like flipping off the switch. So you come in and you do your warm up, you get all amped and ready for your workout, and then you actually do the workout where you have to be amped. And then at the end, what are you going to do? If you just go out and get in your car and you're hot and sweaty and you're still breathing, instead of like cooling down and taking your time, well, then you haven't really shut the switch off. If you haven't iced your knees or whatever it is, or you haven't done any sort of stretching at the end, or you haven't foam rolled for the people, and for some certain people, you do not want to stretch at all. Certain people are so flexible already that they wouldn't want to stretch even a little bit at the end of the workout. So if you're one of those people, for instance, if you can take your thumb and go like that and you can touch your wrist, you probably don't need to stretch. If you can bend your knee backwards, you probably don't want to stretch. If you can reach down and touch your palms to the floor with your knees still straight, you probably do not want to stretch. Now, is that ironclad? Is that going to be the case for every single person? No, not at all. Hey, some of those people that can do all those things would still want to stretch certain joints. And some people that couldn't do any of those or get even close wouldn't want to stretch certain joints. But yeah, after a workout, it's good. Take a little bit. Turn the switch off. Stretch a little bit at the end, foam roll a little bit at the end. Take your time to cool down from that workout before moving on to the next thing. Because like if you're going to work, it's a different type of deal than going to a workout. If you're going to parent, it's different than your workout. This is kind of like the once in a while I go to these seminars, and there's a guy that'll come up and it'll be like, football is like life, and I'll be like. And I'm just sitting there just like, oh my God, football is not like life. Never in life have I ever put on full pads, lined up 50 yards away from somebody else, and ran into each other as hard as I possibly could. Football is not like life. There are certain life lessons that I can get from football that I can apply to life, but I better not treat football like life or I'm going to go to jail. Everyone has to squat is another lie. Not everybody has to squat. There's certain squat patterns. There's certain people that you wouldn't even want to squat. And even worse is the lie that you have to squat deep every single time. For one, if you always squat to depth every time, you're missing out on a huge portion of the, how do I even explain this? Of how strength actually works. There's a point where we wouldn't even want to go all the way down, but there's certain people who, just because of how their hips are structured, they can't flex their hip to parallel. Literally, and I might get some, and I hope I get some flack for this, but not everybody should go to parallel. Not everybody has the hip structure that's going to allow them to go to parallel. Most people can. Most of us can, but not everybody. Some people can squat ass to grass. Most people should not be squatting ass to grass. Most people should be squatting to about parallel. But if we don't do an assessment first to figure out where that hip is aligned, we might be trying to squat people and basically putting their hip and their labrum and everything in their hip into a meat grinder. What's one? The 5 miles per day thing. You must run 5 miles per day thing. That's a lie. You don't need to run 5 miles maybe a week. You take Sunday and go run 5 miles. Sure, yeah, go for it. But cardio isn't king. That's a lie. Cardio is not king. Strength is king. Strength comes before power, comes before speed, comes before any type of cardio. Okay? Any type of cardio. You need strength up front. Strength is the underlying principle that separates all things exercise. Strength, then power, then speed, then alactic and glycolytic, and all the while you can be building your endurance that entire time. However, you do not need to do long steady-state cardio every day of the week. 1 day a week is more than enough. Aaron says, what about how often you should replace shoes? Heard this debate a lot back from my running days. I think that depends on the person, especially for runners. Some people are just heavier on their feet than others. Some people beat on shoes a little bit more than others. I'm kind of the wrong person to ask because I'm just so out of the running game. And shoe technology has come so far. Even in the last 5 years, it's just completely changed. So I'm kind of the wrong person to ask. I focus so much more on the other things that I can help people with than getting them to run further. But so I can point you in the right direction to some people. But I think I do think that shoes are important, and what you're putting on your feet is a big deal when you're a long distance runner. So if you're going to run a marathon, you're going to take each mile you're going to take somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 steps. If you add up how many steps that is, you take that times 26, what is it, 26.2 I think for a marathon. If you take that times 26.2, that's a lot of steps. You got to think nothing comes in contact more with your environment than your feet. So you got to really take care of your feet. You got to think about what's going on onto them. Okay, what about, oh yeah, the combination. This is one of my favorite new ones. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about this lately, is that you can combine your strength training with your cardio training, that somehow that works. And I'm hearing this a lot in the kind of kettlebell community and around this area. And no, you can't. That is, I don't even like to use the C word, but no, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be good at strength and good at cardio if you're trying to train both of them at the same time. It's a myth, it's a lie, it's bullshit. You cannot do both at the same time. You can't even do both. I'm going to say that you can't even do both in the same workout. It would be detrimental to one to try to do the other. If you're going to go for strength during that workout. Maybe tomorrow you're going to go for some type of cardiac thing, some type of endurance, alactic, glycolytic type thing, but you leave that for tomorrow. Do not do that today. You're doing strength today, or you're doing power today, or you're doing speed today. You can combine all three of those into one workout. You cannot combine the others. If you're out of breath when you're approaching the bar, you are not doing strength training anymore. You're doing some kind of cardiac component. Okay, and that goes within reason. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like you're out of breath, like you're breathing heavily, you can't carry a conversation. Okay, what about being muscle bound? That's an exercise lie. That's bullshit. There's no such thing as muscle bound. You go to the biggest dudes in the world, biggest bodybuilder dudes that would make Arnold Schwarzenegger look tiny in his prime. Okay, these guys are huge. They're not muscle bound. A lot of them, like if you look at Kai Green does a lot of yoga. Okay. He didn't stretch his way into muscle either. That's another lie, okay? That you can stretch your way into strength. No, you cannot. Yoga puts up all this stuff about like yoga strength and yoga this and yoga that. The only way that you're going to increase your strength with yoga is if you gain weight. That's the only way you'd be able to do it. And I'm not bashing yoga there. There's a lot of yoga that I really like. There's a lot of yoga that I don't like. And there's a lot of yoga that's an absolute waste of time. But you're not going to stretch your way into strength, and you're not going to stretch your way into muscle. And you're not going to get muscle bound by being, it's not a thing. It's not a thing that can even be possible. What about high reps make you lean while heavy lifting creates bulk? Also bullshit. There's no research behind either of those whatsoever to make that accurate. Bulk, your muscle getting bigger and your fat composition dropping is completely based on your nutrition. It is not based on on exercise. If you eat more and you lift, you're going to gain more muscle. If you eat more and you don't lift, you're going to gain more fat. If you eat more and you do cardio, you're probably it could go either way. If you eat more and don't do cardio, you're going to go fat. Okay, so do what's guaranteed. You have to get strong. You have to get strong. All right. Low reps make muscles grow is another one of my notes. Yoga is all you need. No, you need strength. Cardio is the only way to burn fat. Absolute bogus. Squats are bad for your knees. Oh my God. If the knee has a certain amount of problems, there's something else that we need to look at. We probably need to look at some stability in the hip, or some mobility in the hip, or we need to look at the stability of the foot, like the actual arch. Kind of area, or we need to look at the ankle mobility. One of those is probably going to be the culprit to a bad knee. Also, something that you can do for your knees that is it's pretty safe. You're not going to create a crutch, is to just have a knee sleeve. If you're concerned about your knees while lifting, have some knee sleeves. Elite FTS has knee sleeves that are really inexpensive. I'm experimenting with these right now, and I like them for the most part. Ray-Ban are still my favorite knee sleeves out there. Ray-Ban are still my favorite knee sleeves out there. Just REHBAND. They're going to be a little pricey. They're going to cost like $70, but they're going to last probably, I don't know. If you're using them every single day, they're going to last you probably 3 years. If you're really beating up on them, they're still going to last you 3 years, and they're not going to smell. Whereas if you buy a cheaper version, they're going to wear out in probably a year, and they're going to stink pretty bad. So you probably want, but it doesn't create enough support to create a crutch. What it does is it keeps the joint it keeps the joint warm. That's what I was trying to say. It keeps some compression on it and keeps the joint warm, which is nice. But yeah, you do not need Olympic lifts. Not everybody has to squat. No, not everybody should be squatting to parallel even, let alone all the way down to the ground. Cardio is not king. Circuits and interval training are not strength, and they are cardio. And light weights don't necessarily build tone. Heavy lifting doesn't necessarily create bulk. High reps or low reps don't necessarily make you lean. All right, these are all lies. These are all just like bogus stuff that's put out there. So if you guys have more that you want to put in the comment section, please do. But I'm 3 minutes past, but I was 10 minutes late getting here. Technology. Okay, so hopefully we have Mike on tomorrow or soon. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy him. Mike has a lot of experience in the industry, and he just actually got out. Okay, he became a full-time dad. He stays home with his little girl, which is pretty cool. But sounds like he just did that in the last few months. But he's run one of the most successful gyms in the United States for the last, I think it's like 10 years or something. That they've been in Men's Health #1, or they've been in 10 Men's Health top 10 gyms in the world. Multiple times in the last 10 years, and in Women's Health too, I believe, and a few other magazines. So pretty cool because he was the head trainer there. Anyway, Mike's going to be on here soon, as long as technology cooperates with us. But anyway, thanks for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. I will see you soon.